Hello everybody. So as you may know, there are two main kinds of phones. There's something called an iPhone and there's also something called an Android. But all kidding aside, everybody is using these days the projection onto your car's display because you get to keep that ecosystem from your phone and use it inside of your vehicle's display. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Now, there is just now a new version of Android Auto rolling out. It's the Coolwalk update, as it's known. It makes some big design changes. This is the third major overhaul of this system since it first came out. And today we wanted to kind of revisit something we did a long time ago. It was a comparison between the two of them. So we're going to compare this newest version of Android Auto against the latest version of Apple CarPlay. So let's go ahead, get into it.
Now, before we get started here, we do want to talk about what phones we're using, so we make sure that, there's not any confounding variable here in the background. So I'm using an iPhone 13 Pro Max. This is, we got them actually at the same time. It's less than a year old, and Drew has a Samsung Galaxy S22 Plus.
5G T-Mobile network.
Yeah.
So all that is exactly the same. Like I said, they're the same age, both, flagship level phones, and yeah, so that part of it is going to be equal as we go through some of the tests just to establish that. Now, a big part of systems like this is having voice commands, which we will go over as we go through the video. But I want to start off by just kind of taking a look around the software, both of them, and comparing and contrasting some of the strong areas and weak areas of each of them. Now, one of the things that strikes me right off the bat is that this redesigned Android Auto really looks a lot more similar to Apple CarPlay than before.
It does, because Apple CarPlay was far superior before, so they just copied off of Apple. But
I don't know about that, but it does seem like, in general, really with the phones themselves these days, kind of we're copying off of each other. It'll gain one feature from one from the other, and we're kind of coming to kind of the same conclusions, I guess. Yeah. One of the conclusions that Android Auto apparently came to was that a home screen was a nice thing to have. So we now have kind of a more traditional looking home screen that looks very similar to what you had with Apple CarPlay. This is the brand new arrangement. So the default is going to be a large navigation screen here and a split screen of your music. You can also expand it out to take up the entire display. And you can also push this button right here, which will pop out your app tray. So all types of new functionalities and animations going on there, but the end result is keeping kind of the main information split onto a home screen. Now, both of these systems have moved a shortcut sidebar right over here next to the driver. Now, before I mention this, I do want to point out both of them do have the ability to now fill up a display no matter what type of size it is. So even if you have a wide screen, you've got a tall, narrow screen, or you've got a big kind of rectangle like we have today in this Toyota Sequoia, it is going to fill up the entire display. Now, going back here to the sidebar, what do we have over here? Well, both of them have a very similar structure. At the top, you've got your connection and your battery of your phone. You have the current time. On Android, we have a notification bar, so if you tap that, you'll be able to see your active notifications. Most recently used navigation, most recently used music, most recently used communication, and this is just your most recently used app, period, no matter what it is. And then down at the bottom, both of them have a button that takes you to your apps. So this will be your full entire list of apps. The only thing I'm noticing different here between the two of them is the fact that we do have a Google Assistant button built in right here, where there's not one built into the sidebar for Apple CarPlay.
But now let's go ahead and get into some voice commands, because obviously a big part of this type of software is, having really good voice commands where you don't have to even tap the screen and can stay fully focused on driving.
Right.
So,
and in our past comparisons, this was the biggest area of difference between the two of them, because Siri's a little sketchy at times, but
Siri does a great job.
There's been a lot of time for Apple to try to catch up to Google Assistant, so I'm thinking it's going to be more equal, but let's go ahead and find out.
Navigate to Adriana's.
Getting directions to Adriana's.
Well, there's
It did pick
a
Adriana's.
grocery store.
But it was
Not your contact.
Like 6 hours
6
away.
hours away.
Starting route to Adriana's.
Apple Maps is terrible.
I don't know why it didn't default to Google Maps, but, Apple be Apple, so.
All right, let's see if Android can do the same thing. Navigate to Adriana's.
All right. Let's go.
Success. There we go. Not a bakery 7 hours away, randomly in Chicago or something. My actual contact.
Siri just wanted me to take a nice long drive.
So that's definitely a win for Android Auto.
Navigate to the nearest Chick-fil-A.
One possibility is Chick-fil-A on Nicholasville Road in Lexington, about 7 miles to your west, and it gets 4 stars on Yelp. Want to try that one?
Sure.
Getting directions to Chick-fil-A.
I bet Android isn't going to tell us what stars
Starting
got
route
on
to
Yelp.
Chick-fil-A.
It'll tell you how many stars you get on Google. Who uses Yelp these days? All right, now let's go ahead and check for the nearest Chick-fil-A with Android Auto and maybe see if it can do it faster or something like that. Navigate to the nearest Chick-fil-A.
Okay, Chick-fil-A. Here we go.
Ooh, Mason.
It picked the same Chick-fil-A, but it did not give you the Yelp reviews of the Chick-fil-A, so you wouldn't be able to check to see which one is the best.
You don't have to check Yelp reviews. All Chick-fil-A's are good. This one did it like twice as fast because it didn't give me so many extra options. I said nearest already. Why would I want to pick one further away on purpose?
Because it got better Yelp reviews.
I don't know. This is sketchy. I think this did a better job.
Send text to Drew. Android Auto is definitely going to lose this comparison. Ha ha.
To Drew. Android Auto is definitely going to lose this comparison, haha. Send it?
Yep.
Done.
Nice and easy and quick.
That was pretty smooth, I will say. It came through, and all the text is there perfectly. All right, now time to send the text message. Send text to Mason. Android Auto dominates.
So, that's a message to Mason saying, Android Auto dominates. Ready to send it?
Yes.
Sending your message.
Let's make sure it does a good job of saying that. No spell issues, so it does pass that test.
Yeah, I'm going to say that was pretty much equal. Both of those were really smooth, really fast. They didn't ask a bunch of unnecessary questions or anything like that.
Who was the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom in 1998?
Rishi Sunak is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
That's the current Prime Minister of the UK. Wrong.
I wouldn't be able to tell you if you're right or wrong, because I'm not a history buff, but sure. I would have accepted that as a correct answer.
Too bad I know. Who was the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom in 1998?
Tony Blair.
Okay.
Is that correct? Our United Kingdom fellows, is that correct?
Well, it's definitely not the current Prime Minister, so I believe that to be the correct answer.
Tony Blair does appear
go.
to be the Prime Minister.
Win Android Auto.
Now it's time to get our groove on. Let's play some rap music on Spotify. Play rap music on Spotify.
Rap Caviar, now playing on Spotify.
Lil Uzi Vert, good choice there.
That is indeed
That
a
is
rapper.
rap music.
All right, that was pretty smooth. Play rap music on Spotify.
Sure, asking Spotify to play hip-hop favorites.
Okay. Kendrick Lamar, that is a rapper. They chose
It's debatable, Lil Uzi Vert versus Kendrick Lamar, but we'll see. I don't know.
They chose different playlists, but
They did.
They're both rap music, so
Yeah.
I'm satisfied with both their performances there.
What am I doing tonight?
Uh-oh, there's a problem. Please try again.
What's the problem?
Okay, let's try again.
Sorry, I can't show the result to you while you're in the car.
We didn't even ask yet. I don't know what's happening.
Let's try again.
All right.
What am I doing tonight?
You have 3 appointments. At 8 p.m., going to the gym. All day today, Noah Yoder's birthday. And, all day today, Noah Yoder's birthday.
Very important.
Your
This
two
is birthday
friends named
today.
Noah Yoder.
Yep. But it did get the appointment at 8 p.m. It just took 3
Three
tries.
times.
Yep.
I think Android Auto is going to do better at that. And last but certainly not least, let's try this one out. What am I doing tonight?
There's one entry for today. At 8 p.m., you have subscribed to Car Confections.
You should already be subscribed to Car Confections,
That's
by
just
the way.
That's just a reminder.
But that's a reminder.
All right, that was good. Did a great job there.
Well, Drew, I like to keep things bright and airy, so why don't you show me how to get to the light mode on the new Android Auto update?
Well, it still doesn't exist. The new version, it's rumored that they're working on it, but there's not a light mode. You still have just a kind of an overall dark theme to the system. That's not to say you don't have color. You do still have color over here with like these sidebars, but all the area around is still going to be black. I think most people prefer that, but if you like the light theme, you can't change that yet. But I do want to point out something. This is what Apple CarPlay has had for a little while, and they added it to Android Auto. We can now go in and we can click the settings. And when I scroll down, I can select, wallpapers. So I now have my choice of wallpapers for the very first time. As you can see, pretty extensive. We have quite a lot of choices here. Apple has quite a few choices, but it looks like we have nature choices. So Apple just has abstract designs, but I can actually do a forest or a sunset on a mountain or something like that. So that's pretty.
Well, Google had plenty of time to think about it and copy off of Apple because we've had that for a long time.
Look at that, though. That's nice. But I want to talk about notifications because this is a major thing. Of course, you're driving, you get a text. One of the big ideas behind these systems is that you can engage with those text messages without distracting yourself in a big way. So I'm going to let Mason send a text into the system here, and I want to demonstrate how the new Android Auto handles this situation because it's different than what Apple does. Now pay attention. My notifications popped up. Apple will do the exact same thing, except it's going to be on the bottom of the screen. But check out what just happened. If you ignore the notification in the previous version of Android Auto, as well as in Apple CarPlay, it would just disappear, and you'd have to go into the notification shade, do a few clicks to get to it. But in this new version, it actually shifts over here to the right-hand side and takes up this top corner, so I can engage with this after the fact. So if I'm driving, I get a notification. I don't want to be distracted by that immediately. Something is important going on. I'm driving, right? I don't want to die. I can let that shift over to the side and deal with that later. That's a really nice change that hopefully Apple will add.
That's what I was trying to say.
on.
I do really appreciate that because a lot of times I'm driving rush hour, text message comes in, I'm like, well, I can't take my hands off the wheel right now to tap that button and get that done. So I do appreciate this just being up there. I get a lot of text messages, so that would be a very handy feature, and I'm sure Apple will copy Android, and it'll be on Apple CarPlay in the next 6 months, probably.
Now, as far as maps, the days of being locked in are over, even for Apple, notorious for locking people in. You can still use Google Maps on Apple CarPlay, as well as Android Auto, of course. Both of them can expand to take up the full screen and have full functionality, including traffic. So nothing really different between them there.
Well, guys, that's going to be all for this Android Auto versus Apple CarPlay comparison and their most up-to-date formats and versions. Certainly, these two are getting more and more similar as time goes on to one another, and honestly, that's not a bad thing. I mean, they're copying each other's homework again and again and again, but it's, features that are actually useful. Like I said in the video, I really hope Apple steals the feature of the text message popping up and having a separate tile. I like that feature, and I'm sure they will. So, certainly stay tuned in the channel, and we'll keep you updated on some of the most recent updates for both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Of course, we do also do a lot more than tech reviews. That's actually not what we do normally. We do car reviews. So if you like cars at all, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. I promise you won't be disappointed. You'll see lots of content on stuff like this 2023 Toyota Sequoia, expensive cars, inexpensive cars, whatever you want, we got on our channel. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button down below. Also follow us on TikTok and Instagram, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.